In the beginning, we were not what we are now. Our story of how we became the mostly hairless beings walking the earth today starts long before fire, long before tools, long before the first spark of civilization flickered into life. It begins in the shadowy corridors of deep time, when the ancestors of modern humans still walked on four legs and the forests of Africa were our only home. Back then, we were animals wrapped in fur. Thick, protective coats of hair once covered every inch of our bodies, just like our primate cousins, who still wear theirs like a second skin. To understand why we lost ours, we first need to understand why we had it to begin with. Hair was survival. It kept us warm in cold nights and shaded us in the sun. It protected our skin from biting insects and gave us a natural camouflage against the backdrop of leaves and branches. For millions of years, it worked. It was part of the ancient biological armor passed down to us by our mammalian forebears, honed by the demands of evolution. There was no reason to lose it, and yet we did. Sometime over the last 2 million years, an eye blink in evolutionary terms, we began to shed it. Slowly, patch by patch, until all that remained were traces on the tops of our heads, beneath our arms, between our legs, and in a scattering of tiny follicles across our skin, like a memory of what we once were. This transformation was so complete, so radical, that scientists still debate the exact cause. Because while it's easy to say we lost our fur, the real question echoes deeper. Why? Why would a species abandon something so essential, so tied to survival, and in doing so, become one of the only mammals on Earth to stand exposed against the elements? The answer, as it turns out, is not simple. It's not one event, one mutation, or one invention. It's 1,000 threads woven together: biology, climate, movement, disease, and desire. And at the heart of it all is the struggle for survival in a world that was always changing, always testing, always demanding something more. To trace the path of our naked skin, we must go back to a time when we were still half-beasts. When our lineage stood on the edge between ape and man, between the trees and the open plains. Around 7 million years ago, a group of primates began to walk upright more regularly. Not entirely, not yet, but enough to mark a shift. The forests were thinning, giving way to vast grasslands and sun-drenched savannas. Food sources became more scattered, shelter was harder to find, and so we moved. We ventured out from the trees, chasing shade and water, scanning the horizon for predators. Our posture changed, our muscles changed, our brains began to grow, and slowly, as the world around us shifted, so did we. The hair we once relied on for protection now became a burden. Out on the open plains, under the relentless African sun, fur traps heat. It holds it in, smothers the skin, and prevents the body from cooling. For creatures designed for bursts of speed or shaded forests, this isn't a problem. But for early humans, something had changed. We had become long-distance runners. This may sound strange, even absurd. But compared to nearly every other animal on Earth, humans are uniquely gifted at one thing: endurance. Not speed, not strength, not ferocity, but stamina. The ability to keep going mile after mile across the heat-blasted terrain of East Africa, long after other creatures have collapsed. It's called persistence hunting, a method of tracking prey over hours, even days, until the animal overheats and simply cannot run anymore. And to master this technique, our ancestors needed something more valuable than speed. They needed to stay cool. Here is where biology answers with elegance. Sweating, unlike panting, is a full-body cooling system. But sweat only works if the skin is exposed. Fur clogs it, hair traps it. And so, through generation after generation, natural selection favored those who were just a little less hairy. Those who could sweat more efficiently. Those who could stay on their feet longer beneath the sun. This wasn't just adaptation, it was survival. A new kind of armor, invisible but powerful. The trade-off was clear: lose the hair, gain the hunt. But the story doesn't stop there. There are other forces at play. Some scientists believe parasites were another key factor. Ticks, lice, and other skin-burrowing pests thrive in thick fur. And in warm environments, infestations can be deadly, spreading disease, draining energy, infecting wounds. By reducing body hair, Our ancestors may have reduced their vulnerability. With less fur, it was easier to spot and remove parasites, less of a home for the microscopic enemies that stalked us in the dark. Then there is the theory of sexual selection, the idea that as our ancestors became more social, more cooperative, more complex, physical appearance began to matter. Smooth skin, free from disease and parasites, may have become a signal of health, of fitness, of reproductive potential. Hairlessness, once a risk, became a symbol of vitality, perhaps even of beauty. And so we adapted, not just to survive the environment, but to survive each other. Each theory alone doesn't tell the whole story, but together they form a mosaic, an evolving picture of what it meant to be human. Hairlessness didn't happen all at once. It was gradual, messy, imperfect. A slow unraveling of the past, one follicle at a time, but its consequences were profound. Because when we lost our hair, we gained something else: identity. We became recognizably human, naked, vulnerable, but aware. Our skin, once hidden beneath fur, became a canvas for culture, for intimacy, for touch. We painted it, pierced it, scarred it, adorned it. We created clothes not just for warmth, but for meaning. We stood apart from the animals, not because we walked upright, but because we saw ourselves in the mirror and recognized the bare truth staring back. The journey from fur to flesh is the story of evolution, yes, but it's also the story of transformation, of becoming something new, of turning weakness into strength, of shedding what no longer served us so we could chase something more. But this is only the beginning, because once we lost our fur, something else began to awaken. When our ancestors shed their fur, they didn't just lose insulation. They opened themselves up to the world in a way no mammal had done before. The human body, stripped of its dense coat, became a blank slate, a new interface between the self and the environment. But with that new vulnerability came risk. The savanna is not a forgiving place. Without the barrier of fur, the sun became both a life-giver and a threat. Ultraviolet rays scorched exposed skin. Heat baked it. Insects swarmed it. And yet humans endured. Because evolution didn't just take something away, it gave something back. The skin itself began to evolve. Melanin, the pigment that gives skin its color, became one of our greatest assets. Early humans who lived in equatorial Africa developed higher concentrations of melanin in their skin, turning it darker, richer, and far more capable of protecting against the sun's harsh rays. Melanin absorbs ultraviolet radiation. It prevents sunburn. It reduces the risk of skin cancer. And it helps preserve a vital nutrient deep within our bodies, folate, which is essential for healthy reproduction and fetal development. In a world where survival meant not only living, but creating life, protecting folate wasn't just useful, it was essential. This adaptation would become one of the defining features of Homo sapiens. We often think of skin color as a mark of difference, but in truth it is a testament to shared resilience, a biological response to a common enemy, the sun. As our ancestors moved, as they left Africa and wandered into cooler, cloudier climates, those with lighter skin began to thrive. With less sun exposure, they needed to produce more vitamin D, a nutrient synthesized through the skin using sunlight. Lighter skin absorbed UV rays more efficiently, allowing for this vital reaction to take place. So our nakedness, once a liability, was woven into an intricate system of adaptation, a shifting palette of survival that colored humanity in all its shades. And as we stood hairless beneath the sun, another transformation was unfolding, one that went far deeper than the skin. Touch. In a fur-covered world, contact was muffled. The brush of a breeze, the warmth of another's body, the caress of a hand, these sensations were filtered through layers of hair. But once we lost that barrier, our skin became exquisitely sensitive, packed with nerve endings, responsive, receptive. We began to feel the world differently. The bond between mother and child became more intimate, skin to skin. Lovers could touch, and in that simple act exchange emotion, reassurance, trust. Social grooming, once a necessary act of hygiene, began to evolve into something deeper, something emotional. Our naked skin made us more aware of each other, more human. There's something else too, something quieter, more intimate. Body language. With fur, emotions can be hidden. With bare skin, they rise to the surface. Blushing, goosebumps, the sheen of sweat. Our feelings betrayed by color and texture. Our intentions read in the subtle changes of our flesh. The skin became not just a shield, but a messenger. In losing our fur, we didn't just adapt biologically. We grew socially. We became more transparent to each other. And in that transparency, a new kind of communication was born, one rooted not in words, but in presence. In touch, in the unspoken language of the body. But not all consequences were positive. Without fur, we became dependent on external protection. We needed shelter, clothing, and fire. Our brains had to take over where our biology had stepped back. We invented ways to stay warm. We created tools to fend off insects. We began to decorate ourselves with hides, paints, beads, and scars. Our bodies, once covered by nature, became the domain of culture. What began as adaptation turned into expression. In a very real way, our hairlessness forced us to evolve, not just biologically, but cognitively. It demanded innovation. It demanded creativity. The bare human body became both a vulnerability and a canvas. And as our minds expanded, so did the stories we told about it. We began to associate hair with identity. The hair that remained, on our heads, our faces, our pubic regions, took on symbolic meaning. Hair became gendered, sexualized, sacred. In some cultures, long hair symbolized strength or virility. In others, it was modesty, control, or rebellion. We began to trim it, braid it, hide it, and display it. What was left of our ancestral fur became something more than biology. It became meaning. And this raises a powerful question, one that still haunts the discussion today. Why did we keep some hair? If fur was so disadvantageous, why didn't we lose all of it? The answer lies in the places where hair still grows, and what those areas tell us about who we are. Scalp hair, for instance, may serve to protect the brain from sun exposure. The head, being the most exposed part of the body during walking or running, needed shade. Hair on the scalp kept us cool by deflecting sunlight while still allowing sweat to evaporate. Eyebrows and eyelashes protect the eyes from rain, sweat, dust. Facial hair, especially in men, may have evolved due to sexual selection, acting as a signal of maturity or dominance. And pubic hair, a lingering mystery but one tied to scent, to sexual maturity, and perhaps even to protection from friction or bacteria. Each patch of hair left behind was kept for a reason. Selective evolution didn't erase hair entirely. It sculpted it, refined it, turned it into a feature instead of a blanket. And in doing so, it reminded us of what we used to be. The scattered hairs across our bodies aren't useless. They're echoes, reminders, the quiet fossils of an ancient past still embedded in our skin. The smoothness we wear today wasn't inevitable. It was earned, carved from hardship, forged by fire, by sweat, by time. The question isn't just why we lost our body hair. The question is what we gained when we did. Empathy, intimacy, awareness, vulnerability, and from all of that, connection. We became more than animals, not because we were less wild, but because we dared to be bare. Because in shedding our fur, we revealed ourselves, not just to the world, but to each other. But this evolution, the shedding of our hair and the forging of our identity, was far from the end of the journey, because the human body was still transforming. We began as animals covered in fur. We became creatures of endurance, adapted to sweat, to run, to survive. And in the great shedding of our hair, we became more than just survivors. We became human. But even now, the story is not finished. Because evolution isn't an event, it's a constant motion. A slow, quiet river carving deep canyons across millennia. And the human body, even today, is still in motion, still adapting, still reacting, still asking the question, what do we need to be to survive? In the modern world, hairlessness has become cultural, a choice, a symbol, sometimes a standard. But its origins were never about beauty or vanity. They were about survival, about sweat, about sun and skin, about running down an antelope until it fell from heat, about escaping the forests and daring to walk across open land. Yet as our environments changed, so did our relationship to the naked body. We began to cover it. Clothing at first was necessity. We had lost our natural insulation, and as we moved into colder climates, we couldn't survive without it. Animal hides, furs, bark, grasses, whatever could shield our exposed skin from wind, rain, and ice. But clothing also changed how we evolved. It reduced the selective pressure on our bodies to grow thick hair again. Instead of evolving new fur, we evolved creativity. We tailored garments. We stitched meaning into fabric. Over time, clothing became more than warmth. It became identity, hierarchy, modesty, fashion, and politics. Our nakedness disappeared beneath layers of our own invention, but the instincts never left. Even now, hair is policed, celebrated in some places, removed in others. We've created entire industries around it, shaving it, styling it, waxing it, growing it out. And yet beneath all of that, the truth remains. We are a naked species, and we are that way for a reason. There's a strange irony in this truth, because while we lost our fur to survive the heat of the African plains, we now live in temperature-controlled rooms. We lost it to run long distances, and now many of us sit still for most of our lives. We once depended on bare skin to feel connected, and now we touch glowing screens more than we touch each other. We evolved to sweat, and yet we invent antiperspirants to stop it. We evolved to display emotion through the skin, and yet we hide it behind filters. We evolved to be exposed, and yet we're often more comfortable covered. It makes you wonder, are we evolving away from ourselves? Perhaps, or perhaps this is just another turn in the spiral. Because to understand the human body is to understand paradox. We are strong and we are fragile. We are animal and we are culture. We are flesh, but we are also story. And our skin, this exposed, vulnerable skin, is the page upon which that story is written. There's a theory, unproven but poetic, that humans lost their fur to better read one another. That as we became more social, more communal, we needed to see more clearly. A twitch of muscle, a droplet of sweat, a blush of shame. Bare skin tells us things that fur would conceal. If that's true, then our hairlessness was not just for the hunt, or the heat, or the parasites. It was for empathy, to see the fear in another's eyes, to feel their trembling hand, to know without words that someone else is cold or scared or moved. Our skin allowed us to witness each other fully. And in that witnessing, we built tribes, love, sorrow, and meaning. In a sense, we lost our fur so we could become transparent, so we could be seen, and in being seen, be known. This is the naked truth, that to be human is to be exposed. To be human is to feel. To be human is to adapt, not just with the body, but with the heart. We lost our hair, but we gained the power to stand beside each other, not just as individuals, but as a species, united not by fur or fangs, but by understanding, by language, by compassion, by the shared vulnerability of skin against the world. In the end, the disappearance of our body hair is not just a quirk of evolution. It is the signature of our humanity, the mark of a species that shed its old armor to make room for something new, something braver, something softer, something capable not just of surviving the world, but of transforming it. We are the naked ape, but we are also the thinking ape, the feeling ape, the dreaming ape. And our bare skin still carries the legacy of that long sunlit journey, from the forests of our ancestors to the future we now shape with our own hands. This is the story beneath our skin, and it's only just beginning.